Hello, I'm Eco-Chaplain Roger Wharton, and I'm here to share with you some insights and I hope inspirations from the biblical and Christian nature wisdom tradition. Today we're looking at Matthew 14. Here Matthew records that Jesus goes up the mountain to pray. Now this takes place after the feeding of the multitudes. Jesus goes into the natural world often in order to spend time with God. And this must have been important in the life of Jesus because the Gospels all record it as being important in the life of Jesus. We need to remember that Jesus begins his ministry with a solo 40-day retreat in the wilderness, which traditionally was outside of Jericho. Now, wilderness, we need to remember, in the Holy Land, was a rocky, dry, desolate place. Even the mountains had few trees on them. Now we talk about creation. Creation in our language we often call the environment or nature or the natural world. And after the cosmos was created and the Milky Way was brought forth and the earth was condensed in our solar system, the creation that we find on planet Earth was the first thing that followed. And as such, some people refer to it as the first incarnation of God. And most people refer to it as being revelatory of God and of his creation. Humankind began its existence in the natural world. The Bible refers to this natural world as the garden. And it was here in the garden or in the natural world that people learned from their observations and encounters about God and how to live a godly life. Time alone in this natural world was important to Jesus. Luke in chapter 6 records the time that Jesus goes up the mountain and spends a whole night alone in prayer. Now we can only assume that this time alone in the natural world for Jesus was a time of deep communion with God, whom he referred to as Abba. As Luke continues in chapter 6, he tells us that Jesus comes down the mountain to the Sea of Galilee, and there he calls the 12 apostles. Now, Matthew, Mark, and Luke all record a breathtaking event, which we know as the Transfiguration, which traditionally took place on Mount Tabor. Here in this Transfiguration, Jesus is confirmed in his ministry and confirmed that he is following in the way of the prophets. And it is here in this transfiguration event that he is given the courage and the strength to continue. He is also assured of God's continual presence in his life. When Jesus senses that his life is in great peril, once again he goes to the natural world to pray, this time in the Garden of Gethsemane, underneath the olive trees. And alone in this time, in deep communion with God, here alone in the garden, he prays to let this cup pass from him. But he receives the courage and the strength to continue and is prepared for his passion and his death. As Christians, we are called to follow in the way of Jesus, to be loving, caring, compassionate, non-judgmental people, and following the great commandment that Jesus gave us to love our neighbor as ourselves. So as we do those things, we probably should also consider spending more time in nature, in creation, finding, as the baptismal covenant says, finding joy and wonder in all of God's works and being in communion with God. Go to nature and be renewed in the power of the Holy Spirit.